Okay, we have a great show going live. Here we go for number 80. You're live. Hello and welcome to another day in the Milky Way. And tonight we got a great show for y'all with my co-host, David Null, Hawkeye Two Feathers. Thank you for coming.
And greetings and welcome to all y'all out there in the neighborhood of the world. We appreciate y'all coming, and we extend our blessings and blessings of the universe, and we thank you for coming and hope everything's well in your neighborhood.
Absolutely.
We got three short stories tonight that we're going to be telling a little bit later on, and they're interesting, but they're not very long. So look forward to that in a little bit.
That's right. Tonight we're going to be talking about religion. Who doesn't like religion?
Ooh.
Yeah. Anyway, religion consumes all our lives in one way, form, shape, or another. I'm sure that you yourself don't know anybody, or you're how should I put this? You know, lots of people who are involved in religion. And if you're a person that says, I don't know anybody that's in religion, I would call your bluff, because I would say that each and every one of us knows people who have some kind of religion of some sort or have been in religion. You know, there's usually a church down the street. You know, people believe in all kinds of things. And just because you're an atheist, you think, well, I'm an atheist. Does that make you void of religion? Atheism is a religion in itself. So there you go.
Or is it a social experiment? But still, it would be a cult of sorts, and I would rather be called, if I were an atheist, I would rather be called a religion rather than a cult.
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Religion in itself doesn't mean that you're going to church, you know, and it could mean that too. We're doing our little smudging here, getting a little smoke out, getting the spirits to come in as we send out these vibes into the sky, people. We're sending vibes on the smoke that's in this room. And just like this is the original internet, people. This is the original internet. And this is what they did. Back in the day, the Indians would puff on a pipe, make smoke, and that smoke would carry their messages up into the heavens to the great mystery.
Yeah, the smoke was the vehicle for the prayers.
Exactly. Man, if you were my student, I would be giving you an A+. I'd say.
Grasshopper.
Yes, exactly. You know, and that's the thing a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about, let's talk a little bit about religion and stuff.
And I got some sage lit here. And I lit sage, curious enough, I lit some sage earlier today and said, this is just a burn some sage day for whatever reason. So that's just curious. But anyway, go ahead, Robert.
So the thing is religion itself. Now, all of us have been affected by it one way or another, indoctrinated into it, indoctrinated out of it. You know, we've learned, most of us who come to this channel, I would say have, you know, really questioned it, put it that way.
They have had, if I might interject, they have had some type of affiliation with a religion at some point in their lives. And it may not be them directly, but they might have had a relative that was in religion, or they might have had a neighbor that was in religion. They may not have been, but at some point they have been affected by religion.
Absolutely.
Just saying.
And as a collective, here's a good one. Can you answer this one? As a collective, have we been affected by religion?
Well, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Do you not enjoy a Christmas day? That's part of religion. Easter. We get holidays. We get paid holidays at work because of religion. And anybody ever question that? Nope.
And we don't get Rosh Hashanah, you know.
Yeah. So, well, and that is true.
We don't get the Chinese New Year off. Just, you know.
Well, and that's the thing too. We're all affected by religion, and we're affected by one religion here more than others. And the fact is, you know, you may not believe in that religion, but you still take that day off and get paid that holiday pay, don't you? You wouldn't say, nope, don't believe in Christmas, don't pay me.
I'll be here on Wednesday, you know.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
I'm gonna work right on. Y'all just, you know.
Yeah, I'll come in. Don't worry. Don't pay me extra. Don't give me that holiday pay. I don't want it.
Yeah,
I'm
I don't
not
believe
part of
in
it.
that. Yeah,
that's right. You take it and you say, woohoo, I got an extra day off. But anyhow, religion gives us some holidays. You know, it's at least in this country, we follow towards that Christian religion with you know, the Jesus and all that other stuff. Now, is it the most popular in this country? Yes, it still is. It's kind of declining, but it still is the most popular in numbers wise. And then then the thing is it breaks up into groups. You know, you got the Baptists and the Methodists and the Catholics and the am I missing some there? I know there's some other ones.
The Presbyterian and
yes.
don't forget the Lutherans.
The Lutherans, yes, the Lutherans. And you're probably wondering, what am I doing out of all this? Well, the thing is that the Indians didn't have all those religions. They had a belief that wasn't affected by Christianity until the white man got here. They did not know of no Jesus. They've never heard of a Jesus. They've never heard of a hell. They didn't hear of, you know, some guy hanging off a cross somewhere, and they never celebrated Christmas. You know, these things.
They had no holidays.
No,
they had certain festivals like full moon festivals, you know, like Harvest Festival. And then in October, whatever, you know, and Ducks Quack Moon.
Yeah, exactly.
But
exactly. They celebrated in their own ways. Things like there was a dog festival and they ate dog meat, you know, and which was a delicacy to them. They had other, you know, the harvest festivals, you know, the full moon, like you said, all these things, and it revolved more around their lifestyle. And today we technically still do that. I think that's one of the big reasons that the Native Americans stepped in and followed that, because, you know, like Thanksgiving was the fall harvest. You know, spring, you know, Easter means the beginning of new life. You know, to them, spring was spring. It's a festival. It's pretty easy to step over the line and celebrate in that religion if you're still celebrating the beginning of the renew of life. You know,
resurrection.
Yeah. So it's still the beginning of spring. You get what I'm doing? It's still kind of on that order. You could almost make a transfer and not feel like, oh, you know, this is totally wrong, you know, in a way. And I'm sure they, you know, some of them did, and I know they did. But the Indians believed more in the great mystery. They didn't believe in the hell. They believed in, you know, doing your duty, and that you go out and you honor things. You don't worship the great mystery. You honor him. You thank him. You where is it? Well, and then the thing is, the white man would ask, where is the great mystery? Now, I read other books that said that you know, the white man was saying in that book, you know, the Indians can't worship or anything they don't fear, which means what? So you got to fear your God in order to thank him and be obedient to him, which makes no sense. religion is a touchy subject, people. And if you don't like listening about religion, well, maybe today might not be the show for you, but then again, maybe this is the show for you.
Well, what was interesting, and I think we've sort of discussed this on and off over the last, how many shows is this now for us?
This is number 80.
80. Oh my goodness gracious. But so that the Native Americans, regardless of where they were, they had a general belief all across the Americas.
Yep.
So they believed in the great mystery, they believed in honor and cherish, they believed in, like the elderly got fed first, for example, along with the, instead of the strongest getting all of the best meat and stuff like that. They honored the elderly, and there was, there were certain things it was just, of course you did this because it was morally right.
Mm-hmm.
You just, you didn't rape a woman, I mean, there were just things that you just did not do.
Yeah. And you know what? Here's the thing. Somebody had said to me once, oh, our whole system would crash and crumble and people would turn into heathens and just be crazy, like kill everybody and do horrible things if there wasn't religion.
Right.
There wasn't Christianity. And I'm thinking, no, I disagree with that, because that's not human nature to just go out and kill and rape and, cause injustice. The normal 99% of humans, beings on this planet are not violent, crazy, psycho people wanting to kill, rape, steal, plunder, things like that. Most humans are compassionate, mellow, nice, and loving. That's just human nature. We're caring, except for when we get hungry and we have to survive. We can do horrible, awful, ungodly, unspeakable things because we want to survive. Yep. Is that not true?
Yep. But one of the things, though, I think that, with this, everybody's going to turn into cannibals and be slashing and everything. I think they're going to, if something like that happened, the first time some folks saw some blood poured of other human beings, they would immediately not do it because they couldn't stand it. It would be abhorrent to them,
Yes.
It would be just no. Whether they believed in a God or not, morally, it would not sit well with them. Now, there'd be a certain percentage of people who were like, God Almighty, I don't like doing this, but, if I have to. And then there are some people, I think, that would just freaking enjoy it. It'd be like a video game to them. And that's where you'd have to worry.
And that is true. I mean, think about it. The Indians themselves, we read last week how the young boys were literally let go to roam and wild and free to, learn how to be braves, to hunt, track, things like that. And then when they could, they went off to prove their bravery by stealing horses, encountering the enemy. And they didn't go out to, they could kill their enemy, but a lot of times they counted coup. I went up to my enemy and I struck him. I went up to my enemy and I was brave. I was 2 foot away and I struck him with my club. I stole his horses right out of his village. I'm a hero.
Or I stole his blanket, or I stole a medicine bag, or I stole it, something like that.
Yes.
And see, one thing that they taught the children, they'd say, all right, now, Joe, you and Jim, not that their names were that, but Joe and Jim, from here to the creek, but don't cross the creek. You can go from here to the creek. And there's some tall grass, and pretend that you're hunting in the tall grass. And here's a small bow and arrow, and see if you can shoot a bird by hiding in the tall grass. So when they were real young, they were playing reality.
Yes, and they
You know, they'd go along the shore and they could collect
Mhm.
certain things, or maybe mussels or whatever at the river or the creek, or and you know, and if there was tall grasses or in the prairie or whatever, they, you know, where they were searching for whatever to eat, you know. Oh, look, Ma, we brought home a big frog, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's the thing. And they were, praised for these things. Um, and if they were praised for that, well, then good, They were how should I say? That was the beginning. They were taught from that young age there to hunt and to go to war, be that brave. I mean, how else would you raise an army? You know what I'm
But
saying?
you know, I don't want folks to think that, you know, that there wasn't playtime. No, the playtime was them learning how to hunt. I mean, as kids, we, you know, we played army, you know, and you were the bad guy. We played, you know, God forbid, cowboys and Indians back in the day,
Yeah.
you know. And so there was that play, but it was still, oh, mama, I've been practicing with my bow and playing with, you know, Joe over there, but I actually shot a bird today or a rabbit or whatever, you know, look what I got. And so, you know, with all their play, it, you know, I can remember playing, you know, with our BB guns and stuff. And then when we got older, it became shooting with a rifle, you know, and really hunting, you know.
Yep.
So, but anyway, it's not like the Indians, that's the only thing they did was we're going to train you for hunting and nothing else. Well, if you lived out there in the prairie somewhere, or even, you know, as a Cherokee in the woods, there were more things to learn, but it still wasn't, you know, you learned how to be silent. So, you know, so you didn't stir up any animals. Um, and you learned how to, you know, learn about herbs and things. So, and it was fun to do, to go hang out with grandma and let's go pick some herbs or berries, you know. So, but at the same time, that was classroom teaching. And at the same time, they were learning real life stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, but see, here's the thing. If you're learning how to kill animals and then you're going on with the big guys and you see other people probably be getting, counting coup or maybe getting scalped or getting killed, like you were saying, it's like a video game back then. Um, it's otherwise you're going to end up with a bunch of Indians that got PSDD or whatever, PSD or whatever
PS,
that is.
PTSD.
PTSD, that's it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you can't have that. You can't have the Indian go up there in the middle of a fight and get scared and say, "Oh my God, I see some blood! I'm running away." You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
They got used to blood at an early age, you know.
Yeah, that's
It
the
just
whole point.
and yeah, but you know, back in the pioneer days, you know, a 10-year-old could slaughter a hog.
Yes, and today, like you were saying, how many kids out there are, um, doing that stuff? It's a totally different group of people. It's the kids aren't killing things. They don't see blood. The only thing they do is see a video game. But then again, maybe war will be, like a video game, with drones and things like that. Remote controlled tanks in the field. You'll have the mechanic back there fixing it. The tank will go out, do its duty, come back, and then he'll service it. While somebody in the United States behind a video game is actually driving it.
Yep.
You don't know. You never know. Could be. So anyway, back to the religion part of it, they did a lot of sacred stuff for battle, for the religion. Their religion was for battle. They thanked the Great Spirit, make me brave, and it's a good day to die, and I'm going to go in there bravely, and they did things like, what was it, the was it the red shirt or the red sash, where they would put a stake in the ground and tie themselves to it when the enemy came and fight, showing how brave they would be. And I thought, wow, that is kind of pretty brave, I mean,
Or
knowing that
stupid.
stupid and brave all at the same time, but and the Great Spirit will protect me, if I, kind of thing. He will show himself in animals, and things that he will communicate with me. And as we talked about the other day, they would take things like peyote and mushrooms and psychedelics and things like that to give them a spirit walk to get to the other side, and which we're finding out today, in this day and age. They're saying things like, hey, maybe these things do work. Maybe, that taking some sort of psychedelic drug will allow you to get over to the other side, to communicate, find your path, talk to your spirit guides, things like that. Is that not true?
Yeah, maybe. It depends on who's doing the walking and who's doing the talking and who's doing the listening, and there's some variables in there, but it can be that way. But one of the things is that to take a true hallucinogen, you're going to be seeing colors and shapes and stuff, and you're going to be going, oh wow, man, oh wow. I never believed that it would, because it's hard to describe what it looks like on the other, I say on the other side, but you're breaking the veil between you and the other side.
Yes.
So the psychedelic is opening up your left and your right side of the brain and your subconscious all at one time. It's like open party time, so and then some of your third eye as well. So you're picking up stuff in the universe, and then all this other stuff is whacking on your, going on inside your head. But when the first time I tripped really well, it was like, oh man, I had no idea at how extensive, how, oh wow, like talking to trees and stuff and having them answer you and seeing, the energy shoot out the end of a leaf or something. And how do you explain that? And then when you see it yourself, you look over at somebody else and go, hey man, do you see that? And they go, no. You go, oh, okay, so it's a private thing, huh? But if somebody on the other side of you is tripping like you are, they go, yeah, man, wow, ain't that cool? So there can be a shared experience in that.
Can I interject for a second?
Yeah, go ahead.
The thing is that when they did these things, they just didn't say, hey, I'm going to do it. They went through a ritual, a guided. It literally was a guided trip. They were, through the shaman who was there, the medicine man. He would prepare them, just like you're talking about. Hey, you're going to see these things. You're going to be there. Don't be afraid.
At least an elder.
Yes, and he's
at least if they weren't a shaman, it was at least an elder.
Yes.
And so it wasn't like today, oh, let's all go take some shrooms and go have an experience. No. And there were times, and after having had an upset stomach in the past from getting high on certain things, sometimes you would fast the day before, and certain things like that. So people now will eat and then they'll take some shrooms and then they wonder why they get sick or something, or they have an upset stomach. And so, yeah, the elder or the shaman would prepare you ahead of time.
Yes, I think Lady Spellbreaker, Heather, she was talking about it couple weeks ago, where she took ayahuasca. She went on a ayahuasca thing. And there's like 3 different levels. And she was saying that when she got there to do the thing, they literally gave her something and she literally puked, so it emptied her stomach. And then she took the stuff, and I wish she was here, I could ask her. But the thing is that, fasting itself could give you visions. It kind of clears your mind and your body, and your body has weird experiences just by fasting for a long period of time.
Yeah, well, fasting for the day before, it's going to clear your stomach mostly, and put it in your upper and lower intestines kind of thing. So, you're not going to want to regurgitate real easy. So some of them old timers, all right, on Friday, we're going to take a trip. So Thursday, you're going to, you can have breakfast, but, you can maybe have a light lunch, but you're going to skip supper and anything after that. Sort of like going on to before you go into the operating room. But it's more of just to clear your stomach so that, if it does make you queasy, there won't be something there. So, but, anyway, that ayahuasca is the one drug I have not had. It came along after, I had already done all my stuff.
So, well, I mean, it's been here a long time. You just didn't get popular.
It didn't catch up with me until it was too late.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing. Okay, so Scotty Boy says something like he says, do you think all Indian kids they get crazy too? And yeah, I'm not saying that they were all perfect, and maybe they did get crazy. He said something about they waited and had guides and waited for the shaman and the medicine man and all that.
Yes.
And he says not all kids probably did that because kids will be kids. They get crazy too. And I agree with that. There probably was kids that did tripping, in the back room of the wigwam sometimes and said, hey, I'm just going on a trip, piss on the shaman, I'm doing my own thing. And did they have a good trip or not? I don't know. Or did they do it too much? Well, back in the day, got to remember, they could just go out and get their own, do it as much as they want. I mean, probably overdose and die too. And, I mean, really, I mean, it ain't like, hey, that wacky weed is illegal and you could go to jail for that. No, it's just, I'm going to get some wacky weed. It grows down by the river.
Yeah, man, out in Missouri and Kansas, there was a lot of wacky weed growing out there.
Yeah.
And other places too, but, so, and depending on where you were, but there were other ways of getting high. There were other things that they could take, but, there were mushrooms and there was, oh, now I can't think of it. Mescaline and
peyote.
Peyote, that was what I was trying to think of, was peyote.
Yeah.
And so, and they would trade, like wampum for, peyote. That was something. But at the same time, they weren't necessarily, folks weren't looking to get high. All right. So it wasn't until the white man come that liquor for recreational purposes, smoking cigarettes and tobacco as a recreational thing, whereas to the Native Americans, it was more religious. You smoked tobacco when you were, sitting around and smoking the peace pipe, or you were in the sweat lodge, or you at least in council, or, not sitting around just smoking one, So, so when they brought alcohol, which was a recreational drug, it does have its medicinal purposes, but, mostly it's a recreational drug. And so white man brought addiction, basically.
Yep.
Because here's a recreational drug. So it's alcohol, but tobacco's now recreational. So what else can be recreational? Well, they brought along snuff. They brought cocaine.
Yep.
And so then the Indian just said, oh, look at all these recreational things, and so then they got, in so many ways, they lost their religion.
Yes. I mean, they didn't have, that I got to stick by it religion like, we kind of believe, like a Christianity thing. Wasn't quite the same. And that's That's why the white man had a real hard time with it. You know, the white man that was coming there at that time believed in one God, one thing. That was it. Done deal. If you didn't do that, we chop your head off or something like that. So let's go into this. It says here, looking into most renowned nations of, I'm quoting from this book. This is this old book here from the 1855 called The Indian Wars. So we're going back to when the Indians were still, there were Indians out on the prairies in 1855. You
Right.
know, they were out there. The guy could have probably walked up to the Indian, sat down, and got all the information for this book right there. Go put it that way. He was getting a firsthand look at it, at least way better than we're getting now. It says, on looking more renowned nations of the ancient heathen world, he calls it heathen world, we see the people prostrating themselves before innumerable divinities. Well, of course, they're saying, you know, whatever divinity is out there, like the buffalo or the badger or the bear or the deer. I need to run swift from my enemies. I need to be like the deer. Oh, dear, give me some strength, you know, kind of
Right.
thing.
Well, listen to this, though. They bowed down to their divinities. Well,
Yeah.
look, what Christians do is they kneel down in church and bow their heads to a cross hanging on the wall. They bow down to their divinity. It's just the
It's
others
different.
were heathen because they weren't Christian. And but you know, the Christians, they still bowed down and you know, and knelt down before their God, you know.
Yep.
So, but anyway.
Okay, and we are ready to conclude that polytheism is the natural belief of man, unenlightened by revelation. But a survey of the vast wilds of America will correct that opinion. For there we find a multitude of nations widely separated from each other, all believing in one supreme God, a great and good spirit, the Father and Master of life, the maker of heaven and earth, and of all other creatures. They believe themselves entirely dependent on him, thank him for present enjoyments, and pray to him for the good things they desire to obtain. They consider him the author of all good and believe that he will reward or punish them according to their deeds. And I kind of agree with that, you know. I mean, that makes sense. You know, just because they didn't label him and say, "Oh, I got to have a Jesus to pray to, so he can relay my message to the God," you know, or I got all this other stuff I got to follow, and all these good sayings that I got to follow, and I got to read the Bible because there's all these other things in there. They just had stories like you're going to read tonight that talk about stuff, and then you think, because there's always that hidden message in them stories. Am I not right?
Yeah, that, and you know, in the Christian religion, which a lot of people don't really pay attention to, is that, you know, you would pray to your patron saint for something. You prayed to Saint Christopher for a safe journey, for safe travel. You hang them in your car, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and other things like that. So the Native Americans had similar things in that they might have a fetish of like a sun god or something like that, and they would say their prayer because now what did an Indian need back then?
Just food,
I mean, what are they
water, and
praying
shelter.
for? I mean, literally, I mean, what you praying for? You're praying for a good hunt. You're praying that, you know, everybody stays healthy. You're praying that you and your wife will get along and stuff, and maybe that you want a child. And then maybe you're going to count some coup. Now, so, you know, in these day and times, we look at all the things that we want or might desire, but the folks back then, what they were desiring was on a totally different level that we really don't understand.
Yeah. Yeah, that's totally true. I watch some of these stupid shorts out there. I don't know if anybody's seen them, but it's so funny. This guy walks around and he says, 5 minutes with Jesus or $1 million. Which would you pick? And I think out of all the people he's asked I've ever seen, only one person said, 5 minutes with Jesus. All the other ones looked at him and said, $1 million.
I'd take the 5 minutes.
You would?
If he was the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking a real deal here.
I mean, if he was the honest to God, real deal,
Yep.
I'd take the 5 minutes, because you could never gain another experience like that, and it would be worth $1 million.
Yep. Yeah, that's so true. But they all look at him, and then he'll always ask, well, why? And the people would say, well, I can't do anything with 5 minutes of talking with Jesus, but $1 million will go a long way. So they're associating that Jesus,
the value of it.
The value of it, talking to Jesus, to them is worth not much. But to get the $1 million, they could do a lot with that. It would set them pretty good. Talking with Jesus, kind of worthless. And like I said, it's like where's your values at? And like I said, in reading these things all about the Indians, I realized that they had different values. They were honorable. They tried not to lie. They were very kind and generous to their family and their tribe, yet they would go out and kill others of different tribes which would be their enemy. Yeah. For unknowing reasons. We're going to go attack that tribe over there because they're not, Blackfoot. So we're the Crow. We're going to go attack Blackfoot because they're not Blackfoot. Or right. They're not Crow or whatever it is. Or we're going to go attack the Pequots because they're not the Nagasets. Right. What?
Well, let me also interject something that, you've shown a lot of pictures, and they're even behind you there. Mm-hmm. The wiki ups or the teepees or the lodges or whatever you want to call them were usually pretty close together.
Yep.
And you knew everything that was going on in the tribe. It wasn't like things were a secret, even at a whisper, you can hear through the walls of them tents, let me tell you. And so here you are. So people know each other's business. All right. So the secrets and, if someone has done something wrong, the rest of the tribe's going to turn their back. They're going to shun them.
And they did. Folks, they did do that.
Yeah, right. But but to the point, though, that was the punishment. If you did something minor, if you did something major, well, they might stake you out over an ant bed, like rape someone in the tribe or something, or maybe even in a neighboring tribe. But to dishonor this tribe, they went out and raped a girl from another tribe. They'd bring that guy back and stake him out because he was dishonorable, but the not speaking to whoever it was and shunning him and turning their head, and they're still part of the tribe, but they don't talk to him, they walk away, and so it won't take you long before you've learned your lesson that to be moral within the tribe means that they smile at each other and you're welcome into conversations. Whereas if you do these things, we're not going to talk to your ass. We're not going to sit with you at dinner. We're not going to go along with you on the hunt, until you can learn to behave. And that's not a bad deal.
Well, and the thing is if you're in your little tribe, say you got 100 people in that tribe and everybody knows everybody, and you do something bad, where are you going to go to talk to somebody? You go to the next tribe down the street, they might kill you.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do?
You did what?
Yeah, that just
What
kill
did
you.
you do? You
Yeah,
did what? Oh,
yeah, So I mean, and you were taught from day one, from the little being a little kid, to be honorable, to be honest, to uphold things, to honor the spirits, to follow the
and
rules.
that was the religion.
Yes,
You
that
were
was,
taught to be honorable,
yeah, yeah,
not just because it was morally right, but it was also spiritually right with the Creator.
yep.
You
Uh,
know, and
Kiki's, Kiki,
I have seen youngins, grew up. They grew up with me, and I grew up with them through some powwow stuff. Like an 8-year-old to a 12-year-old.
yeah.
So what is that? 4 years. But
Mhm.
anyway, yeah. That was weird. How many? But anyway, but watching them transition, from the little kid to a 12-year-old,
Mhm.
is like, oh wow. But they still like to hear the old stories, which was interesting. I thought maybe they'd grow out of them, but they found them even more entertaining for some reason. But so when during that time, they're being taught reverence to Mother
Mhm.
Earth. They're being taught, you don't overkill, and you don't, trample the ground, and you do these things and in honor of Mother Earth because she provides for us. And so it's an everyday thing. They
Oh,
get
yeah.
out of the teepee and there it is.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, and that's exactly it. Kiki's in the house says, I've heard that some tribes embrace those people and pull the problem causing person into the middle. And that's like an intervention.
Yes.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, if somebody started getting out of hand, they would surely intervene. Yep, the elders would get together and go get that kid. Drag
Yeah,
him in here.
yeah,
We need to have a sweat lodge with him, or if there's something wrong, we us as elders need to sit around and smoke the pipe with him, and come to, figure out what's wrong and come to a conclusion, or maybe, come up with a plan to help him or something like that. So,
yeah.
but absolutely, yeah. And we just don't have anything like that now.
No,
The
no, we don't.
families are too big and the tribes are too big, and people just don't give a shit like that anymore. And it's just
Well, the
like,
thing is now, if the kid misbehaves, they end up going to prison, or if they don't, they run away. And it ain't like back in those days. Well, I'm going to just run to the next tribe. No, the next tribe will kill you. You
or
know?
kick you out and tell you to go to hell home.
Yeah.
No, come on,
Exactly.
kid, go back.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, let's get on with this. Now we just talked about the good spirit. Here, listen to this. They believe in inferior spirits because if you got a god, you got to have things under that. They believe in inferior spirits also, both good, bad, and to whom practically to good they give the name Matu, or Manitou, 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 and consider them tutelarily spirits. The Indians are careful observers of dreams, and they think themselves deserted by the master of life till they receive a Manitou in a dream. This is till they dream of some object as a buffalo or beaver. Remember, I was telling you they get messages from they pray to
Oh
their,
yeah.
and they get messages as animal spirits, a buffalo or beaver or something else, which they think is an imitation of the Great Spirit. And it has given them the object of a as a Manitou or a medicine. So you got your guide. Your guide is a buffalo. Maybe yours is a bird, and mine is a cougar or a bear. And you know what I'm saying? It
Yeah.
doesn't matter which one it is. Believe it or not, this is so funny. I don't know if you ever watched Star Trek Voyager, but Chakotay, he's on there, and he was talking about spirit guides and stuff. It's just really interesting.
Yeah, I saw an episode or two like that.
Yeah, and he says he's trying to teach the captain. You go there and you get into the dream world, and then you look for your animal spirit, and that animal spirit will guide you on your journey that you're supposed to take.
And one of the things is that you don't actually look for it. You're there and it will appear to you.
Yeah. And that's,
if you look in too hard, oh, look, there's a chipmunk. That must be it. No, that was just a chipmunk running across the path. But if you're just walking and observing, then because, that's how Hawk came to me. I wasn't looking for it. It was a strange situation, but it came to me versus me looking for it and going, ooh, Hawk is my thing. Nah, it had to come to me.
I think I got a challenge
way.
for everybody, even myself. And I've never done this, so I don't know what my animal spirit is. How I want you to tell us, how did you find out that Hawk was your spirit?
I was in the North Georgia mountains, and I was just there for kind of sort of business or family kind of thing anyway. And then so while I was there, I was like I was on Trey Mountain, and the trail is the Appalachian Trail that goes up literally right over the top of it and back down the other side. There's a lot of elevation through there. So I was up there years ago, and I was like, here I am. I've come all this way to do this other business. I'm going to climb up this mountain as far as I can go. And while I'm, it's sort of like Moses climbing the mountain, okay, Great Spirit, I'm coming up. If give me a vision, blah, blah, blah. So I was huffing and puffing. I thought I was going to die. It's a very steep going up this mountain. And it was hot and I was sweating, and I made it. And so I'm sitting up there between these two rocks, literally sitting on the USGS, benchmark. And I'm watching these two hawks flying overhead and doing this acrobatic thing. And then there were these swallow type birds that were doing this dive bombing thing. And then there were chipmunks literally running between my ankles. I was sitting with my feet out, and there were chipmunks running around, and it was like, holy crap. And then there was a clap of thunder, and the clouds started getting dark and coming in through the valley. And it was like, I need to start going down. And so watching these two hawks, as the clouds came in, it came in such a way that there was a hole. I mean, It was a hole. It was a round hole. And this hawk flew up into the clouds and through that hole and disappeared. And I knew what it meant, because it was about a partnership. I was a lady friend, and that the female is the one that flew through the hole, and I understood what it meant, time to move on to the next one. So anyway, I'm climbing down this mountain, and it is raining to the point where it's hard to see. And I get to this one point, and the lightning's crashing, and I'm so soaking wet, and I'm cold and shivering where I was about to die before from the heat. And I come around this dog leg, or a hairpin, and heading down, and I turned and looked, and there was a hawk just sitting there on the limb, soaking wet. And I stopped, and he was about eye level with me, but the tree was 30 feet down from where the side of the mountain went like this, and the tree was standing here. Well, but he was on the first limb, which is like 25 or 30 feet from the ground. But I'm on the trail looking straight at him, and I heard this voice in my head that it was like, if you don't believe it's me by now, Hawk, because I'd been having some other things. And I was like, what? And he was like, pay attention and quit worrying about the rain. And I was like, what? And a couple of other things in my head. And then he flew off. Well, from that point, which I was about halfway down the mountain, and it's a good sized mountain. I didn't feel the rain anymore. I wasn't cold from that moment on. It was like something happened on that little hairpin turn there, looking at that hawk, and the eyeball to eyeball connection that I had with the hawk, because he was so close. And I was like, oh, holy cow. And things have been a lot different ever since then. And hawk now has been one of my totems. Now, let me say something else. You don't just get one totem. Now, hawk has been a totem that has traveled with me through my years. But, you can have other critters that come along that can be a totem for a short period of time that will teach you a lesson. Like it might be rabbit, or it might be, swan, or it might be beaver, or because something else can come along. And like I've had beaver come into my life, and it's like, what? Well, what about hawk? Hawk's still there, but beaver shows up and teaches you another lesson. So for folks to say, well, I don't know, you might have two or three. So if you see certain animals on a regular basis, or fairly regular, then that might be, they might be telling you something.
Okay, so say I want to find my spirit animal guide. How do I do that?
They'll show it to you.
But how do I ask? I mean, yeah, okay. But I mean, all this time now, I've never found a spirit animal guide. And so do I go looking for it? Do I go out in the nature and meditate for a while?
It might be that you just haven't noticed it.
Okay.
So what you do is you ask, and this is sort of self-hypnosis. But in a meditation, you can go out, light a fire, or you can just sit on the couch and go, okay, listen, spirit, I want you to show me, make me aware of any animals. Now it doesn't have to be out in nature. It could be in a book. You could be flipping through the channels and there's something about a certain animal and you go, wow. And something is just interesting about that. But then the next day you might see a picture of that animal in a magazine. And then a couple of days later, there'll be an article about it, something. So there'll be a string of events of that animal coming up. Not necessarily in the same day, although that can happen too, but that over a period of time, that animal will show up, and that will prove to you that this animal, at least for this period of time, is a totem. It's a spirit guide.
Okay. Okay. Well, how about I give a challenge to everybody out there. Next week, we'll go out and see if we can find our spirit animal guide and do what you can, see if you can figure yours out. That's what I'm going to do.
Well, here's the thing. You start now.
Yeah.
Because you say your prayer now.
Okay.
Creator, show if I got one, because you just might not have one at the moment. So if I've got a spirit guide, I would like to see proof.
Okay.
I would like for you to show me who my spirit guide is, and the other thing is that, and that's about all you really need to say, but you also say, and make me aware.
Okay.
Because they might show it to you, but if you ain't aware of it, right over your head it's going to go. So you can ask for it, but you also have to ask for the awareness to see it.
Wow. Okay.
When it's there, you know what I mean?
Yes. Kiki says, I found a dolphin in meditation. Sat around a fire with animals and talked to each of them. As I went around the fire, dolphin jumped up and down and was like, me, me, me. Well, there you go. That's your spirit guide then.
At least for the time being.
Yes.
For me, Hawk has been my spirit guide, sort of like in the grand scheme of things.
Mm-hmm.
But beaver and what's the other critter? Jumps along, I guess.
Rabbit?
No,
Muskrat?
to play in and out of the water.
Otter.
Otter, thank you very much. Beavers and otters, because I used to have otters on the back, in the back there. I don't know if I still do, but watching them play up and down the bank when you're literally in the wild is such a treat. But but otter's not crossing my path every day, but otter has entered in the past. So, and has been an influence. I mean, even to this day, to think about otter jumping along the top of the bank up there, it still gives me great joy. So, otter has made an important, whatever into my life, even though it's been 20 years ago.
Yeah. Scotty Boy says to me, he says, put it out there, Robert, and let it go. And then, let's see. Aaron's Energy says, one of mine is wolf. And Kiki says, yeah, horse is my lifelong spirit guide. Dolphin helps me move through transitions. So there you go. There's two spirit guides.
What does helps?
Horse is my lifelong spirit guide. Dolphin helps me move through 10 transitions.
All right. One thing I want to interject here. There are people say, well, I love the ocean. It's got to be a whale or something. Or I live in the mountains. Why am I thinking about dolphins? It doesn't matter where you're at. Dolphin, just because you're out in the middle of Wyoming doesn't mean that you can't think about whales or dolphins, especially in this day and time. Back in the day when some folks didn't even know what a dolphin was, but nowadays, though, if you have dreams of dolphins or whatever.
Well, the one thing I do know,
it's more normal is what I mean.
From all these things that I've learned is that whatever spirit comes, it's going to come in the most pleasing thing that you feel comfortable with, because it's your imagination that's gonna present itself as that. Because it's not going to come as a boogeyman, because it would only scare you. It wouldn't be there so you would be relaxed. Like you were telling me once, when you had the apparitions appear, they appeared as things that you were comfortable with. If they appeared as big red boogie monsters with horns and fire blowing out their noses or something, you probably wouldn't have stood around and listened too long, would you?
Well, I have seen those. And like an idiot, I stood around and probably looked for too long, because I wanted to see what the hell was going on, because I'm just that curious. But
well, but you know what I mean.
But I'm crazy that way. $1 million versus 5 minutes with Jesus, and I didn't even have to think about it. I'll take the 5 minutes, so that puts me in a different realm of with other people. So
but I it doesn't matter. There's no wrong answer. It's just that, like I said, as many times as I've heard that one, and the people try to explain themselves, they're like, I get nothing out of talking to Jesus, but I could do a lot with $1 million. And I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, I wonder what I would take if I had the opportunity. Wow. I don't know. $1 million changed my life. 5 minutes with Jesus might change my life too. I don't know.
Might change my spiritual life.
And
the thing is that I can't take $1 million with me. And but 5 minutes talking with Jesus, might save my soul, or teach me something in a way that I might not ever have understood, where that $1 million would never teach me that, so but it is, again, how do you value something like that? Or how would you value it? Or would you put a value on it? But to that point, you know, that $1 million ain't going to get you into heaven.
Yeah, that's true. What the heck? Susie Q, are you in the house? What are you doing?
Oh no, have a little talk with Jesus. Oh no, tell him all about our troubles.
What did she do? Susie Q, she put Scotty Boy in timeout and deleted all his messages. Come on.
What?
I haven't even seen Susie. She must have just got here. And well, anyways, Kiki says I'm in Idaho. So see, she's in Idaho and seeing dolphins. So, like I said, you're right. You're right. That's the way it is. I was gonna read one of Scotty's comments here, but no, I guess I can see it. He says, you still have to pay attention to your surroundings. Stop
Yes.
rushing through lifetime.
Yep.
A life to appreciate it. So stop rushing through life, people. I like that. Yeah, Susie says, I messed up. Sorry. Susie, shame on you.
And as I've talked about before on my channel, and I mentioned here, is you have to listen to that inner voice. You know, in other words, you know, you're driving along and you have to like open up, you know, while you're driving and say, and you feel something like you have the impulse to look to your left,
Yeah.
and there might be something there, you know.
Yep.
And so you have to, rather than I don't want to look over there, or why should I look over there? Maybe you're supposed to look over there. So sometimes that's an inclination, especially for me. Otherwise, I wouldn't have found, you know, those woodpecker feathers that I talked about, and finding deer antler in places that I wouldn't have expected. You have to listen to that inner voice that will direct you. And if you're just not paying attention, that's why I said earlier, you ask to see your spirit guide, but you also ask to be able to be aware of it when it happens. So pray for awareness, you know, if anything, because awareness will bring you your spirit guide.
Yeah.
Well, wait, I'm saying spirit guide, your animal totem.
Your animal totem. Okay, yes, okay, exactly. Sorry, Scotty boy, we want to apologize. Susie Q had a boop and she deleted and put him in. I don't know what the heck happened, but sorry.
There it is.
Yeah. Oops, there it is. Yeah. Travis the Brick's in the house. I'm gonna give a shout out to everybody since we're on this, and you can get ready. It's story time. Susie Q's in the house, obviously. She put Scotty boy out. And let's see. Kiki's in the house. Mark the Spark, our Aaron's energy. Lucky Stone. And he is a big Star Trek Voyager watcher, and I agree with him. Star Trek Voyager really was better than some of the new Star Treks. It really held to the old Star Trek thing of like the, you know, the Enterprise stuff. So good there. Let's see who else is in house. Pearl Jones is in the house. And Lori Elderkin, who was first in chat. Thank you for coming. Elaney Pearl Jones. Anyway, yes, I got to get a hold of her. Maybe we'll do some cards tomorrow night. That would sound fun. I got kind of in the mood. So anyway, ready to do a story. I think you got 3 stories planned for tonight.
Yeah, they're short ones, but yeah, got 3 of them lined up for tonight. And to all the folks you just read their names out, I just want to say aloha, howdy. Hope you're doing well. And, you know, I'm sitting over here being quiet, but, you know, to all of y'all, thank you for being a patron of this channel and also to my channel as well. And so anyway, but thank you again.
Yeah. Susie Q says she's half asleep and listening. Susie, don't worry. You know, David's going to tell some good stories, and, you know, it's just like leave the phone on and leave the stories that come and it'll put you to sleep right away.
Yeah, just listening to my voice, that monotonous tone will put you out. You know, I got a comment from somebody the other day on a video that's back a little ways, And as Brian and I had, and I'm wearing my little hat today, sort of in honor of Brian, which last week was his birthday, right?
Yep.
Right. So, but anyway, been thinking on that this week, and thinking on the fact that what Brian and I had discussed is to what do we expect out of our channels way back years and years ago, and it was like, if one person can get something out of what we talk about, if just one person's life is changed. And so on an older video, somebody sent me a comment that was basically, man, I really needed to hear this, this story, and you were right on about it. And thank you so much. And I was like, I don't look for numbers, and I'm not looking for a bunch of likes or whatever, because it ain't about that. But I feel very proud and humbled at the same time that one person on whatever the video was, I can't remember, but that someone had, listened to it and got something out of it, and it meant something for them that day and helped them. And God Almighty, I couldn't ask for more. There are folks who would like to have 500 people or 5,000 people, but to have one person that their lives were changed and it helped them. And I'm so humbled before the Spirit, you know what I mean?
Yes. Oh yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree, because that's the same way with me. I'm not in it for the money. I mean, I'm not monetized. I could have signed up several different times. YouTube sends you things, and other people send you things. Here, sign up here, and $14.95 a month will make sure you get 1,000 likes and 1,000 or 1,500 subscribers. And I'm thinking, so if I pay you $14.95, I'll get 1,400 subscribers a month, guaranteed. And I'm thinking, how do you do that? And then I'm thinking, I enjoy looking at my subscribers and seeing them go up one by one by one by one by one, knowing that one person really did subscribe because they wanted to listen. They thought I put out some decently good content that could, like you said, change their life. Maybe it was helpful, and sometimes, well, maybe they don't enjoy everything we talk about, but maybe there's that one thing that we talk about that really is what they need.
When sometimes it's our discussion, it's the discussion of what it is. It's not so much whether we're right or wrong, but it's the fact that we're having a discussion and we're not screaming at each other, and we present it in a way that hopefully folks can understand. And, and somebody made a comment on my channel the other night. They made basically that, listening to you, it's like, we need to have you, to just have conversation, just to talk, like sort of like the old talk show thing. And sometimes, but there's value in that, it's like, I just wanted to listen, hear somebody's voice at 2 a.m. So, and there you were, whatever I was talking about. So there, I found that, for me, as far as now, see, this is religion to me, and it is tied into what Robert brought up, because religiously, if I would like to do something that would help somebody in some little way, shape, or form. So the fact that I can do a live stream and somebody out there says, thanks, Dave. That's all. They just say, thanks. I was bored, I was feeling lonely, and you did a live stream, and thanks, Dave.
Yeah, because I know on your live streams, it's like, I don't know how you do it, but it's like you're talking right to me. That's how I feel when I listen to you. It feels like you're talking right to me.
Because I am.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking to Michelle, I'm talking to Susie, I'm talking to Richard, I'm talking to you, and I'm looking right at that little camera, and I'm talking to you. That it is true.
But and that's what I mean. That's how I get it. You can turn on other shows and stuff, and they're talking, but you know, you don't feel like it's so personal. Well, I'm just saying is when you talk and you say things, it sounds like it's really personal, and it's like you're an old friend sitting in the rocking chair with me here, and we're rocking back and forth, and you're like, now listen here, you know, well, back in the day, you know, and this is how, you know, things really work. Now, you know what I
Grab
mean?
your iced tea and let's
Yeah.
have a biscuit, and
Yeah, that's what I mean. And you just kind of feel like that, like, yeah, I could just close my eyes and put it in different scenery, and you're sitting right there, and we're, having a good conversation. And then, I can chime in, and usually you read the comments and you see this, hey, yeah, I'll address that. And then it makes
yeah,
it even more personal, like, wow, I said something to him and he answered back. It wasn't like he don't even know I exist. And then
right.
you give a shout out to people who are in the chat, and it makes you feel even better. I know people like to hear that. People respond to their names, that's why I always give everybody a shout out. Here's a good one. Aaron's Energy. She was talking about, you were talking about Brian and how he affected people. And she says, Brian told me once that I was like a lighthouse, a beacon of light. I've carried that with me all of these years. Now, how is it that Brian could say that? And even after he's gone to the grave, his words are still ringing in Aaron's energy, saying, hey, you're a beacon of light. That's changed that person tremendously. See, and that's all it's about.
Right. And that, well, like I said, that was the one thing that he and I discussed off camera. And I think we may have discussed it on camera too. But that, we weren't in any kind of competition. There
Yeah.
were certain people we didn't want to hang around and try to promote any particular thing, but we would discuss things, but we weren't out to sell anything, about whether this is the best thing, right or wrong. We were just going to present it and let people make up their own minds.
Yep.
So, I know there are some times when I sound like I'm a salesperson, in like, that there are certain things that I'm just sure of. There's healing energy in the universe. I'm living proof because I went to the doctor again today, and I'll see him in 2 months, and my back is healed well, and and I'm going to be going to therapy, and and after this 3 months out of two major back surgeries, at 70 years old, I can't really complain, of where I'm at, And so even though I like to complain, it's fun sometimes, but to the point though, so in life, there's all these things that we have that come up with us, how we face those things, and if we're grumpy all the time, then grumpy is what you're going to get,
Absolutely.
And so, but to me, it is a religion. It's the religion of being, part of humanity. And Brian showed his humanity, and hopefully I'm showing my humanity, and other people's humanity. We try to share that. And because we are all in this together one way or another, So if we're all human beings or humming beings, or, hum a tune with me, hum.
Yeah. Well, are you ready for the
Okay.
stories?
Yeah, story time. All
Story
right.
time. I'm ready for a story before it gets too late. Anyway, okay, I got it
We're
up.
still early enough, but
Yeah, Scotty Boy was saying that he was on another channel. Somebody said to this day he mentioned Brian and how it affected them, and was saying, I missed that show. And he says, yeah, people who don't even come, are, we don't even know it's affected their lives. So it's amazing, isn't it?
it is.
So there we go. I think I got the right page.
But
And
I am
you're
so very gracious to everyone for being a sub of mine, and for hanging out with us here.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I know I've tuned in a few times when you're on at 3 o'clock in the morning. Not very often, but when I couldn't sleep or something and I woke up to let the dogs out and I chime in, say hi. Most of the time I pass out, but because I'm just so tired. I work too much. So, but anyway, there you go. We're set. Anytime you're ready.
Oh, drat. I lost my page.
Well, don't worry. Don't worry. We didn't lose the crowd yet. They're all tuning in now. They usually come in about 10 o'clock waiting for the story time, I don't know which is better, the first half or the second half. The second half seems to get more views than the first half because they all enjoy the stories more, I think, than my ramblings.
Oh, okay. Wait, hang on. I'll be with you.
Oh, no.
If it goes to full screen, I can't see the pages on my screen. And I've got it just right so I can read the print just right.
Yes.
So
yes.
anyway,
you got it. Yeah.
I can scroll at my pace,
Yes. Yes, you have to.
So, all right, I'm ready now.
Okay. Whenever you're ready, I got it up.
This is one of those, we're on our continuing reading of Seneca Indian Myths by J. Curtin, 1923. And so this is the next in line from what Robert and I have been presenting these last few weeks. So this story is Geha, the friend of a deserted boy. Geha is the wind. A party of Senecas went hunting. When they had killed many deer and were ready to go home, they didn't know what to do with a little boy whose father and mother had died while they had been in the forest. The hunters had so much meat they couldn't carry the boy, and he couldn't walk so far. At last they decided to leave him in the cabin, leaving plenty of wood and meat. The child cried bitterly and begged to go, but they left him. When the hunters reached home and the report went around that the child had been left in the woods, everyone thought it would die. After some days, the chief sent a man to see if the child was alive. As soon as the messenger was outside of the village, he changed himself into a bear. The little boy kept a fire, cooked meat, and lived. One cold night, he began to cry. The meat was almost gone and the wood was burned up. While crying, he heard someone come to the door. After making a noise as if shaking off snow, a man said, "Little boy, you think you are going to die. You are not. I am going to take care of you. The chief has sent a man to see if you are alive, but he will not be here for a long time. I will be your friend. When you want me, think of me, and I will come." The man went away and the boy fell asleep. And the next morning he found a pile of wood at the door, and on a low limb of a tree hung a piece of deer meat. Now he was happy. He built a fire and cooked some of the meat. The next night, the man came again. He stopped at the door, shook his feet as if shaking off snow, but he didn't go in. He called to the boy and said, "The man who is coming won't help you. He has taken the form of a bear. He will be here at midday tomorrow. In the morning, you will find between the roots of the old stump near the door a rusty knife. Sharpen it and kill the bear. When you hear him coming, run to the spring where the tall hemlock stands and climb the tree. The bear will follow you. Slip down on the other side, and as he is coming down, stab him in the forefoot. The boy did as the voice told him. When he had killed the bear, he went back to the cabin. The next night, the stranger came to the door and said, "My friend, men are coming for you. Go home with them. They will be good to you. The chief will adopt you, and you will become the swiftest runner living, but don't be proud and boast of your power. I am your friend, but you will never see me. I am the one who is called Giha, or the wind. If you are in trouble, think of me, and I will help you. When the men come, they will ask about the messenger the chief sent. You will say, I haven't seen a man, but one morning a strong wind went through the woods." The next day, 4 men came with food for the boy. They saw that he had wood and meat, but no bow or arrow. He went home with the men, and the chief had him brought to his own house, for the child's relatives were all dead. The chief said, "You will be my grandson and live with me." When they gave the boy a bow and arrow, he asked for a club. "What do you want of a club?" asked the chief. "To kill deer." The chief had a club made for him. He chased the deer, overtook them, hit them on the head, and killed them. He killed birds before they could fly away. Giha had told him he would be the swiftest runner living, and he always had that in mind. When he saw boys running, he laughed and thought, that running is nothing. I can run faster than any boy living. One night, someone struck on the door near the boy's bed, and a man called out, "Who is here? Who is in here?" "I am," answered the boy. "Well, I challenge you to run a race with me. You think you are the swiftest runner in the world. We will start from the second mountain and run from sunrise till sundown." In the morning, the boy asked the chief, whom he called grandfather, if in the night he had heard someone talking outside. "I did not," answered the chief. "Well, a man came and challenged me to run a race." "I don't think it was a man," said the chief. "It must have been a beast, and I am afraid you will get killed." "I have been challenged and I must go," said the boy. "I must be ready the third morning from this." He made 10 pairs of moccasins, put flint in his arrows, and parched corn to eat. On the third morning, he started. When near the appointed place, he saw a dark mass. At first, he didn't know what it was, but when daylight came, he saw that it was a great bear. When the sun appeared, the bear said, "Now we'll start." He leaped across the valley and onto the first mountain. Where he struck the ground sank. He leaped from mountain to mountain, but the boy had to run through the valleys. At midday, the bear was ahead, and the boy thought, "I am lost. I wish my friend Giha would come." That minute, Giha came as a whirlwind and carried the boy far ahead of the bear. As Giha traveled, he threw down trees that delayed the bear, for it had to jump over them. At last, the bear's strength gave out, and he called to the boy that he might have his life. The boy killed the bear. Then he burned tobacco to his friend Geha and asked to be taken home. Geha carried him in a whirlwind and put him down in front of the chief's house. I have come, grandfather, said the boy. I have killed a bear. You must send men to bring it home. So the chief sent 8 men. They were 20 days going and 20 days returning. The boy wasn't half a day, for Gia had carried him over the woods and under the clouds. And that's the ending of that story. Now, here's another story, the second in line for tonight. And it too is a short story called Whirlwind and the Panther. And the characters are Cyclone or Whirlwind and the Panther. And so the characters are Dagwanoriant is Whirlwind, and he is the Panther. So as we start this story, once in a Seneca village, a party of men was preparing to go on a hunting expedition. In that village was a young man who people thought was foolish, not strong of the mind. He knew that hunters were getting ready for an expedition, and he went to one and another and asked to go with them, but no one would let him go. After the hunters started, a young woman took pity on the young man, went to him and said, "Let us marry and go hunting." He was willing. They started off together, and after going some distance, camped in the forest. The man couldn't find any big game, but he killed squirrels and small game. He made traps to catch deer and put them down where he thought deer would come. One morning, when the young man went to look at his traps, he heard someone crying. The sound came nearer and nearer. Soon he saw a woman and 2 little boys. The woman was crying. As she came up, she said to the young man, "Help me, or we will be killed. One of my little boys stole a feather and pulled it to bits, and we are going to be killed for it. I want you to shoot the hawk on that tree over there, and when the person comes whose feather my little boy took, throw the hawk at him and call out, 'Here is your feather.'" The man killed the hawk, and no sooner had he done so than he heard a terrible roar and a noise, and the trees began to fall. A man came and stood on a close by tree. This man had enormous eyes and long hair, and that was all there was of him, just a great head without a body. The young man threw the hawk at him and said, "Here is your feather." The head caught it and said, "Thank you," and was satisfied. The woman was a panther and the children were her cubs, but to the young man, she appeared to be a real woman. She had told him that she lived among the rocks, that the head, Whirlwind, was her neighbor. While he was away from home, her little boy went to his cabin, found his feathers, and spoiled one of them. When Whirlwind came home, he was angry and chased her. She told the young man that she knew he was poor, that no man would hunt with him, and she said, "Hereafter I will help you, and you will get more game than any of the hunters. I do this because you saved me and my boys. After that, the young man killed more game than any other hunter in the village. And that's the end of that story. Now, again, here's another short story.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
And
All these good stories.
And short and to the point. And here's the third of the short stories. This one's short again. So this one is called A Bird in Search of a Mate. A young woman lived alone on the bank of a large river. One day she thought, I am old enough to have a husband. It is lonely here by myself. She oiled her hair, painted her face red, put on her best clothes, and went to a spring. She dipped up a bucket of water and looking in it said, I am nice enough for any man. Then she started off along the bank of the river that ran through a forest. Toward midday, she came to a place where she saw signs of people living near. And seating herself on a log, she began to sing, I wonder if any man around here wants a wife. I wonder if any man around here wants a wife. Soon, someone far off in the forest answered, I want a wife. I want a wife. Then the woman sang back, what will we live on? What will we live on when we live together? And he sang, we will live on moss. And she, singing, answered, I couldn't live on moss. I am too good for such coarse food. I am a nice looking girl. Again, she traveled along the bank of the river. It was near sunset when the young woman came to a place where she saw signs of people living near. She seated herself on a log and sang, I wonder if any man around here wants a wife. I wonder if any man around here wants a wife. Someone not far off answered, singing, I want a wife. I want a wife. Then she sang, what will we live on? What will we live on? What will we live on when we live together? And he, singing, answered, we will live on hawthorn berries and roots. She sang, I cannot live on hawthorn berries and roots. I am too good for such food. I am a nice looking girl. The young woman traveled on till dusk. Then, seeing signs of someone having been along a short time before, she seated herself on a log and sang, I wonder if any man around here wants a wife. I wonder if any man around here wants a wife. Close by, someone sang, I want a wife. I want a wife. And she, singing, asked, what will we live on? What will we live on when we live together? And he sang back, when we live together, we will live on seeds. Singing, she answered, that is the food I like. Seeds are nice and soft. The singing, hearing her answer, was pleased. He came and sat on a log by her side and, singing, asked, did you understand my song when you asked what we would live on when we lived together? She, singing, answered, yes, seeds. I love seeds. They are sweet and soft. Then the two flew off along the bank of the river, and ever since have lived happily together. The first birds of spring. The first man to answer the young woman's call was a deer. The second was a bear. The third was a bird like herself. How about that for an interesting story?
That is way cool. Way cool.
That's just different,
It is. It is.
short and to the point.
Yeah. Hey, Jargo's in the house.
The first
And
was a deer, the second was a, and the third was a bird like her.
yep.
So, she sang out and called, and what do you love to live on? And seeds, what,
Yep. That is true. That is true. But anyway, yeah, that's the thing. See little versions of that kind of story tell you makes you think. It's kind of, it's like a parable in the Bible, only it's using animals, and then you have to use your brain to think about it. So really they weren't that much different than the white man with, coming across the pond, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they the only difference was the white man coming across had a book with all the words in it, and the Indian guy had to memorize these stories one by one, word for word, and pass it down over and over and over. Is that not right?
Yeah, but if you think about it, when I was talking earlier about, what did the Indians have to do back then? What did they wish for? Good hunting, good, not getting killed, but the white man brought over all these other levels, if you will,
Yeah.
so the red man was called a heathen, but the white man, prayed to, Christ, and to all the different saints and all the different this, and, you had to follow these rules, and, where they were used to just giving thanks.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. The religion had progressed more because of writing, and writing could be manipulated because words can be mistranslated. Right. And then the thing is even now, it begs to wonder, why am I following a religion that's based in a foreign country with foreign people and studying that? It seems to me it has no bearing on my life in the area that I live.
Right. I should live in Israel, or at least North Africa, or southern Spain, or, but living over here, what does the wall of, in Jerusalem, but what does the Golan Heights mean? What does it mean to me? I agree with you.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing. It's kind of how I feel about that religion. Doesn't seem to relate to me. Yeah, sure, the stories are parables. It's the same as the Indian stories. But in some way, I can get more out of this Indian story because I can relate to a bird. I can relate to a deer. I can relate to these things. I can look out in nature and I can see these things. And I can go out in nature and observe and be in that situation. I can't be at, like you said, at the wall. I can't walk the streets of Bethlehem unless I take a big long trip. I can't fathom what a manger in a stable would look like because I can't have the concept of where Bethlehem even was. And then when it blew my mind when I found out that it was probably a stone manger and that the stables were underground.
Yeah.
And I went, what? I always pictured this little wooden shed and, some hay and things like, nope, no, that's what? And I was like, at that point, I was like, you might as well be talking about aliens.
Yeah.
Because that's how far away I feel from that. I mean, because it just has no bearing on me. And then when I'm finding out that, well, Jesus wasn't a white guy with a beard, a mustache, and he wasn't baby blue eyes. He didn't look like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then I'm like, well, this is kind of throwing me off. Now I really don't relate. They only put that out there because how would the white European people relate to a Jesus character that was maybe dark skinned or with black curly hair? Well,
Right. And that's probably what he was.
yes. And how do you expect me to relate to that guy? So that's just my thing. Did you pull some cards for tonight?
I got one sitting here.
All righty. What do you got?
And in a way, it seemed kind of appropriate as I pulled it, like, as some cards are, you go, well, I don't know if this, well, tonight is Buffalo.
Good deal.
And it's prayer and abundance, which I'm always in prayer, and I'm praying for abundance for folks. Buffalo, you bring us the gifts of life. Here are prayers. Smoke rising like the phoenix. We are reborn within the sacred words. In the Lakota tradition, it was the white buffalo calf woman who brought the sacred pipe to the people and taught them to pray. This is interesting because we're talking about religion, and here, how about this one, right? The bowl of the pipe was the receptacle that held tobacco and herb with male and female medicine. The stem of the pipe represented the male entering the female and seeding life, the coming together of male and female, the connection to the divine energy of the Great Spirit was made. As the pipe was loaded with tobacco, every family in nature was asked to enter into the pipe and share its medicine as prayer and praise to the heavens. See, they're not saying anything about, worship. They're saying, and share its medicine as prayer and praise to the heavens. The smoke was considered to be visual prayer. I mentioned this earlier, and here it is. The smoke was considered to be visual prayer and was very sacred and cleansing. All animals are sacred, but in many traditions, white buffalo is the most sacred. The appearance of white buffalo was a sign that prayers are being heard, that the sacred pipe is being honored, and that the promises of prophecy are being fulfilled. White buffalo signals a time of abundance and plenty. Buffalo was a major source of sustenance for the Plains Indians. It gave meat for food, hides for clothing, warm and soft buffalo robes for long winters, and hooves for glue. The medicine of buffalo was prayer, gratitude, and praise for that which has been received. That's the key right there. Buffalo is prayer, gratitude, and praise for that which has already been received. Buffalo medicine is also knowing that abundance is present when all relations are honored as sacred. All relations mean trees and birds and rocks and plants and people. All relations are honored as sacred. And when gratitude is expressed to every living part of creation, every living part, because of its desire to give the gifts that its body provided, and because of its willingness to be used on earth for the highest good before entering the hunting grounds of spirit. Buffalo did not readily stampede and run from hunters. To use buffalo medicine is to smoke the pipe in a sacred manner and to give praise for the richness of life to be shared with all races, all creatures, all nations, and all of life. It means smoking for others so that their needs are met, praying for the good of all things in harmony, and accepting the great mystery as part of that harmony. If you have drawn the buffalo card, you may be asked to use your energy as prayer. May also be called upon to be an instrument of someone else's answer to a prayer. This could portend a time of recognizing the sacredness of every walk of life, albeit different from your own. To honor another's pathway, even if it brings you sadness, is part of the message that Buffalo brings. This may be a time of reconnection to the meaning of life and the value of peace. Most assuredly, this time will bring serenity amidst chaos if you pray in earnest for enlightenment and the power of calmness and give praise for the gifts you already had. So, Robert, you were talking earlier about, praying for, to get your totem or, animal spirit, so it brings serenity amidst the chaos if you pray in earnest for enlightenment. So that should be a message right there for what you had stated earlier.
Yep.
Buffalo medicine is a sign that you achieve nothing without the aid of the Great Spirit. You achieve nothing without the aid of the Great Spirit, and that you must be humble enough to ask for that assistance and then be grateful for what you receive. So this is interesting because, I said earlier, you have to, ask for clarity, ask for awareness so that you want to see your animal totem. You want Creator to help you to see it and send him along, and two, you want to be aware enough to be able to see it. So Buffalo was right on the money tonight.
Absolutely.
I mean, in so many ways, Buffalo was right on the money tonight.
Yeah, it was.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. I like Buffalo.
Yeah, and one thing is be grateful for what you have. You're always asking for more, and people are always asking for abundance. But if you've made it to this point in life, and not to say you couldn't do better, I could use a little extra money, but I'm not dying, yet anyway. But learn to maintain. So when we learn to maintain with what we have, and we're grateful with it, sometimes it shows that we already have abundance.
Right. Let's see, what was it? Lady Spellbreaker, Heather's here. I wish you were here a little earlier, Heather. We were talking about taking, whatever, and finding your animal spirit guide or your totem.
Totem, yeah.
Yes. And we were talking about you doing ayahuasca and stuff like that, and you're trying to describe it.
But you don't have to do that in order to find your animal spirit.
That's
totem.
Right.
You don't have to take any kind of hallucinogen in any way. It might be that, if you're a high tense person, that you smoke a little bit and to calm your ass down. But as far as taking any kind of, something, nah, you don't.
Yes.
And it actually means more if you can find it without being high.
Yes. Well, and that's the thing is, May. Hang on, I'm looking up something. She says there was a baby buffalo calf born in May, this May in Wyoming, I think it was.
Oh, there's a couple of them that have been born. A few years back, which has been probably 20, You know, because we talked about white buffalo calf woman back a ways,
There
and
it
I
is.
was surprised that.
Yep, there's the article. 1 in 10 million rare
Yeah,
white
but what
buffalo
is the
calf born.
date on that? On that,
This is May 30th, 2023 at 11:54 a.m. Says
wait, it was
Evanston.
published.
Yes,
That doesn't mean that picture is when that buffalo was born.
yeah.
Because
Well,
they've been rerunning a story.
Yeah, it says the calf was born in Bear River State Park on May 16th. The park shared a photo on Facebook. The calf and its mother, who is a 2-year-old white bison. The park official explained that the coloration is a result of a very small amount of cattle genetics mixed in rare and a fluke like albinoism. Therefore, it is surprising that the white mother bison's calf is white too. Cool, right?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay, so that really is a new one.
Yep, that's
good,
a new one.
good.
I guess that's all it really says. The most sacred living thing on earth seemed for the oldest legend. When a white buffalo calf is born, it is a sign that their prayers are being heard and that the promises of the prophecy are being fulfilled, the agency says.
Right, wow. And the prophecy is that white man's going to leave and go back where he came from.
Maybe. So anyway, it's an interesting article, people. If you want to know more, look it up yourself. There you go. But anyway, so I'm encouraging everybody to go out this week, find your totem, your guide, whatever. Some people have already said that there's a wolf, dolphin, horse, things like that. I'm going to go on a crusade this week and see what maybe something will come up to show me that my animal totem, and I'll report back to you next week.
And it might take months, but you know, if you get a glimpse of something, if some particular animal or a bird or a chipmunk or something comes to you, you just have to put it in your head and go, okay, is that it? And then subsequent things will happen that will let you know that it's that. And you'll know, you might see another one down the road tomorrow morning when you wake up. There's a red bird sitting on the windowsill, and then you go into town and you come back out and there's a red bird sitting on the hood of your car, and or there's one within eye shot nearby, it's sitting on the car next to you, but it's still there. So, and then you get home and there's one sitting on the fence post. And you go, wow, it might be a red bird, So it will follow a certain, in that you will see the red bird or whatever it is over a period of time, 1 or 2 days or maybe a week. So don't give up because you didn't see something first day. Don't give up.
Yep, that is so true. But don't give up and just keep searching. Like Scotty Boy said, put it out there and let it go, and just keep your eyes open.
Yeah, you could look like hell on Saturday and it won't come till Sunday. I mean,
Yes. Anyway, but I want to thank everybody for coming tonight.
Thank you.
We got Scotty Boy, Lady Spellbreaker. Go over, check her channel out. She does some good card readings. She likes to do that astrology stuff going on too. It was really neat because I'm on a Fucus there, and she was talking about Fucus energy tonight, this afternoon. Luckily I caught her. Aaron's energy, Susie Q, who else is in here? Jargo's in the house. And let's see, who else did we have? We had Lucky Stone, Delaney Pearl Jones, who says she's moving around now. She's looking for a better apartment. Good for you. Let's see. She's out of that place with Rick, so good for her. She's changing her life. See, she manifested it, talked about it so much, and eventually she got out. You have to do work. Nobody's going to pick you up and take you out yourself. You got to do some work. Kiki, who's been in the house all night, thank you for coming. Travis the Brick, Mark the Arc Spark, and anybody else who I forgot or didn't mention because I missed your name. But I appreciate each and every one of you for coming because you make this show. Are you going to have a show after this?
Yeah, something.
Something. All right. Well, I know those late night birds will stay up late and listen to you but me, I had a hard day in the garden today. Got a lot of stuff planted. Sorry, everybody, I didn't make a video, but I will have a video tomorrow night for y'all and show you the garden, talk about a few things. And with that, we'll be back tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. I took a break on Monday and Sunday, but back hard at her starting tomorrow. And then we'll see you for the weekend where we're going to have, pretty sure we're going to have Ryan Serio on, and he will be joining me probably with Trina. Not sure about Trina, but I know Ryan Serio said he's going to try to make time to come on Saturday, which we're going to be talking about. Usually we're talking about hermetics. We're going to be talking about all the chakras and things like that and his dreams that he has. So good for him and good for us, right? But in the meantime, have your own dreams. Find your totem. Keep a dream journal. It's a good thing. I know I've been having, I don't know about all you, but I've been having some really weird dreams in the last probably 3, 4, 5, 6 months, I think it is.
Yeah, it's been strange since the first of the year.
Yeah. It's some really vivid dreams. And then you wake up and you're like, wow, that was just too real. But anyway, okay, well, with that, remember, go out, do something nice for somebody, because as we found out last week or last Saturday, that the high frequency isn't as much love as it is generosity, and giving of yourself is the one thing that you can really observe. Whereas, how many times did somebody say, I love you, and they don't really mean it? But generosity is one of those things that really, really matters, both to me and to you. So go out and do something nice for somebody else.
Generosity proves love.
That's right. And you
I
can
mean,
you
don't have to be generous to prove it, but if you are generous, you will prove it to somebody that there is love there. So, but anyway.
That's exactly
Thank you, everyone, for your participation. We love you, and cheers till next week. Hey, Robert?
That's right. Next week, we'll be right back. Same time, same place. All right. Peace, everybody. Remember, be the frequency you want to receive. Love y'all. Peace, everybody.
2 hours.
On the dot, too, pretty much.
Almost on the dot, yeah.
Yeah, we started